A question that tends to come up from time to time is, how do I measure fuel consumption? Well, in order to do this, you need a pit controller and a couple of function blocks. So, if we go into our logic in here, we have our tank with our tank level. We're going to pump this out into a little value here so we can actually see how much is in the tank, but we're also going to put it into the process variable of a pit controller. Now this pit controller, if we select it, is set to 0, 0, and 1. Now why is that? Because what we only need to measure is the change in the system, meaning the speed at which fuel is being drained. Once we know that, we can actually compare it to the actual tank level, which is done in this function block over here. If we select that, we can see that we're dividing the amount of fuel that we do have, which is our y variable, divided by our consumption rate, which is x, and the whole thing divided by 36. Now what's the 36 doing in there? Well, the 36 is so that we actually know the consumption rate in minutes. That meaning how much is being consumed every minute. Why we are using 36 instead of 3600 will become apparent later as we pipe this out into another function block, which is set to this little function here. Now all this does is actually stabilize our output. We could directly pump it out of the first function block into a little gauge. However, the problem would be that this would be moving around a lot. So what this does is it actually stabilizes the output to a variable which is a bit easier to read through our blocks. So the other thing that I've done here is I've gone and put the output of the pit controller, meaning our consumption rate, and I've directly pumped this through this function block, which is set to the same thing. However, I've had to increase this by 10,000 in order to make it visible on our little gauge. Now if we spawn this and walk over to it, we can start the little jet engine that's attached here, and we can see up here's our tank content, and this is the time till empty in minutes and our consumption rate. As you can see, as we're starting, we're not burning a whole lot of fuel, so our time till empty is pretty high. However, as the engine is starting to spool up, this is rapidly going down as our consumption rate is increasing. And as you can see now, as we're basically idling at our low RPS of about 8, we have about 60-65 minutes remaining, and at a consumption rate of 2.9. If we now increase our throttle, you can see the time is going down, our consumption rate is going up, and the tank is emptying much faster. If we then go back down, our time till empty is increasing once more, our consumption rate is very low as we're spooling down, so once we've reached a lower RPS, this will actually start going back down again, as we're now consuming fuel to actually keep our RPS at 8, as we have done before. And as you can see, we're back at 60. That's all you need to do basic fuel consumption measurement and tell you how much fuel you've left before you absolutely need to land. I've put this all up on the workshop so that people can reference this more easily, and then you can put this in your vehicle, you can put this in your plane if you like, so long as you give credit.